Okay, guys, I'm here for episode 9 of Smacking the Roster Down, my retrospective of the SmackDown series, which is now the WWE 2K series. Predominantly a roster retrospective, although there will be some review elements in it where I talk about certain things about the game. But I feel the best way to retrospect this series is to look at the rosters, because arguably that is the most important part of any fighting game, or in this case, the WWE game. Now, 2007 had a fairly big roster. It had a roster of over 60 wrestlers. Well, we took a step backward as 2008 only has around 50. And it only has like 49 people. And that's not now, that doesn't exclude a DS and PSP exclusives, who, for the sake of this, I'm not counting. I'm only counting the console roster for this. So, I will mention that Hardcore Khali was exclusive to the DS. Sergeant Slaughter, Jim Neidhart, and Eddie Guerrero were all exclusive to the PSP. But other than that, they were not on the main version of this game. So, because at least in 2006, yeah, Jake Roberts was in the PSP version, but you could still get him on the PS2 version. So that's why he was counted for 2006. As far as I know, there is no way to get Eddie Guerrero and Jim Neidhart and Sergeant Slaughter in the in the PS2 version of 2008. So, anyway, who made the roster of SmackDown vs. Raw 2008? Well, this was the first game to feature the ECW brand, WWECW, so the roster hypothetically should have been remotely interesting. So, who was in the game? Ashley, Batista, Bobby Lashley, Bret the Hitman Hart, Candice Michelle, Chavo Guerrero, Chris Masters, Carlito, CM Punk, who made his first appearance in the series, Edge, Elijah Burke, who also made his debut in the series, Finlay, John Cena, Johnny Nitro, JTG, making his debut in the series, Kane, Kelly making her series debut, Kenny Dykstra making his series debut, King Booker in his final WWE game until I believe it was WWE 12. Marcus Corvon making his first and only appearance in the series, and I think only appearance in the WWE game, the former Monty Brown in TNA. Mark Henry, Matt Hardy, Melina, Michelle McCool, Mick Foley, Mickie James, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. McMahon, MVP making his series debut, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, Ravishing Rick Rude making his debut in the series, Sabu, the Sandman, Shad Gaspard, all three of which are making their series debut, and for Sabu and Sandman, it's their only appearance in this series. Shane McMahon, Shawn Michaels, Snitsky, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Terry Funk making his series debut, The Great Khali, The Rock, Tommy Dreamer making his series debut, Torrie Wilson, Triple H, Umaga, and William Regal. So there it was. 49 people were on this roster. That's about around 20 short of what 2006 had, and that had a fairly big roster. So, it was, again, you take some forward and take a step back. 2008 took a lot of steps backwards in some ways, because it took out the GM mode that everyone liked, and it took out the season mode, too, that was really interesting. And it was replaced with WWE 24/7 mode, which I never actually defeated, so I don't actually know how that mode ends. I never defeated it as far as I remember. I know it had different storylines involving different people and such like that, but I never actually defeated it. This is also the first WWE game without Chris Benoit for obvious reasons, and he hasn't been in a game ever since, and most likely will never be in a game, unless something weird happens that I don't know about. Also, fighting styles were introduced, and instead of being able to store your finisher, you could store your fighting style instead. Also, Jeff Hardy made his return to the series in this game. So, yeah, Jeff Hardy made his return to the series. And speaking of Jeff Hardy, him and Matt are actually returning to the series as DLC for 2K18. I don't know any more to DLC yet. That hasn't been announced yet. When we find out the entire DLC, I'll do a video about that for 2K18. But right now, it is just Matt and Jeff Hardy that we know are confirmed for DLC. I'm assuming the rest of the DLC will be announced probably within the next couple weeks. Prior to the 13th, if you have the Deluxe Edition, or October 17th, if you have the Standard Edition. And the fighting styles, they didn't really enhance much of anything. They gave certain abilities for wrestlers, but that's pretty much all there were. So, yeah. And the ECW roster was not that big. To be its first game, it wasn't really a big roster. It's kind of like how when they first introduced NXT to this series in 2K15, how it only had 5 people. So, yeah, this roster is an okay roster. Could have been better. Kenny Dykstra is also a one and only timer in this game, from this game. So, at least there weren't no weird people that were unlockable in this game, like Fred Durst and whatnot. Although we were about to get weirder with that, and I'll expand into that in the next video of this series when we look at SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. The first actual game in a series of actual DLC, but I'll get into how I'm going to handle the DLC portions of this in that video. So, if you like, this will be in the Smacking Your Roster Down playlist. If you like the video, like button down there, subscribe button down there, and thank you for watching. Bye.